Hello everyone, welcome to CEO Live at Studio V. My name is David Lee. I'm a director of yourparttime.com. My guests for today are writer, activist, and advisor to Malaysia Aids Council, Datuk Paduka Marina Mahathir, and the director of Rumah Salam, Dr Hartini Zainudin.
Hi.
Marina, the legendary Mother Teresa was once asked why she continued to do her work, in other words, picking up the dying and helping the children get off the streets, when her work is considered like nothing but a drop in the ocean. In other words, compared to every person that she helps, there are thousands of others who require help out there. She replied, yes, my help is considered nothing but a drop in the ocean, but let me quote, but because my one drop, the entire ocean is bigger. Now, her acts of selflessness and dedication to humanity continues to be an inspiration to many. However, in a world where individuals are increasingly driven by the quest for greater material wealth, are we seeing waning interest in social work and community service? Perhaps you could shed some light on this in relation to your work on raising awareness on HIV, AIDS with the Malaysian Aids Council.
Well, actually, I don't think that there is a waning interest in this type of work. In fact, I think there's an increasing interest. I don't think everyone aspires to be Mother Teresa. I mean, she's quite unique, and I don't think it's easy to match someone like her and what she's inspired. But a lot of people feel that they can do a little bit, whether it's just to give their time or their energy or their skills to do something, either on a voluntary basis or even if a full-time basis, but working in NGOs. I mean, we're finding lots of young people especially becoming more interested in the issue and then wanting to do something about it. You know, like at the Malaysian AIDS Council, I don't know, AIDS kinds of appeals to young people because perhaps they see a number of their idols or celebrities who've been infected by it and have died, and so they feel that this is something that they could get involved in. Plus, it covers a lot of issues that affect young people, about their rights, the right to be, the right to be healthy, the right to have access to education, the right to sexuality and all that. So I think there is a lot of interest. The main problem is people don't really know what to do. How can they contribute? How can they give their time? Is it going to take a lot of time, etc.? And of course, there is a lot of pressure to go down the usual career path, and the whole practical thing about what am I giving up to do this? That's something that I think NGOs like mine, like Teenies, etc. That's what we have to deal with. But it's not unovercomable. I think we've got some good people in, and so I think it's possible.
Teenie, question here. What do we need in us to be good volunteers? I am under the impression, speaking to you, that in your case, it's the ability to manage chaos. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about Rumah Salam and the nature of the work being carried out by some of your volunteers.
Sure. Rumah Salam is a community-based project that's under the umbrella of Yayasan Salam Malaysia, which is the Malaysian equivalent of the American Peace Corps. So it's actually one of the largest volunteer-based organizations in Malaysia. Nur Salam is a 24-hour crisis center for children, 0 to 17 years old. It's located in Chowkit, on Jalan Chowkit, as a matter of fact. And we are always constantly looking for volunteers to work with us, but we're not taking people off the street to come in to volunteer. There is a screening process, and there are certain things that we look for. What we look for is not ad hoc type, one type shot volunteer services. And programs, what we're looking for are shorter periods of time, longer term type involvement and commitments in terms of volunteer services. Where people, is exactly what Marina says. It's not that there is a shortage of volunteers who want to come in to help us. It is what do they do? How can they help? How much time are they giving? And what I tell them is it's as simple as, can you take, do you have a car, and can you pick the children up once a year? And if you have 12 friends, then that's 12 times that the children get picked up to go to the clinic, for example, and that's once a month, which means you've already formed a year of volunteer, a long-term volunteer program. So there are different ways in which you can volunteer, and it's looking at the services and what we need creatively. It's not about spending time with them and reading to them necessarily. We can sit and talk about that, the different ways in which you can volunteer, and those are the kind of people I'm looking for. Committed, gung-ho. It doesn't have to be every month. It can be once a year, once in 2 years. But if you have enough people, then yeah.
Okay. Very quickly, before we take a break, generally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the spirit of volunteerism among Malaysians? Why do you rate so? Perhaps, Marina, very quickly.
I suppose, generally speaking, in practical terms, meaning that the number of people who actually come forward and volunteer to do something is probably pretty low. I think a lot of people would like to, there is the intention, the niyat is there, but actually, getting off your ass, to actually do something, that's a different thing. Partly, I think, like I said before, they don't know what they can do. They don't quite understand what does volunteering mean. I think it also, it's important for NGOs to also be very clear about what they want volunteers to do, and to constantly have things to keep the volunteers' interest going. It's not like you stuff envelopes and then they spend the whole year stuffing envelopes. They're going to get bored. So you have to keep the interest going. You have to think about your volunteers and what you can do for them and things like that. It's not a simple thing. But I think we can up those levels. Once people are understand better what volunteering is really about.
We'll take a quick break and come back with questions for our two guests.